Hello friends, in today's video, let us try to explain electrical conductivity and Ohm's law based on free electron theory. So, we know Ohm's law is a very fundamental law relating to electrical conductivity in metals, and we are going to check whether free electron theory is able to explain Ohm's law. So, first of all, let us consider a piece of metal, a cylindrical piece of metal as shown in the figure. The cross-section area of this piece of metal is unity, that is A equal to 1. So now we assume that an electrical field E is applied along the negative x direction. So that means electron will be having a drift velocity along the positive x direction towards this direction. So in this case, let us calculate the total current that is passing through this metal piece. We know for the equation of current, the basic definition is that it is the rate of flow of charge. That means charge per unit time. That is current. So let us try to find out the charge flowing per unit time through this piece of metal. So for this, we assume that the charge density of this piece of metal is capital N. That means if we consider a unit volume in this metal piece, then the total number of charge in that unit volume is N. So let us calculate the charge that is passing per unit time. So in order to find that, we have drift velocity Vd, right? What is velocity actually? Velocity is the distance traveled by a particle in 1 second or in a unit time. So if there is an electron here, that electron will be able to travel Vd distance in 1 second. Vd length per 1 second. That is the concept of velocity, right? So if we know the drift velocity of electrons in a piece of metal is Vd, that means electrons within this system will be moving an average distance of Vd in 1 second. So if we define a cross-section area within this metal piece like this, and suppose let us calculate the total charge crossing this area per unit time. So we know electrons have a drift velocity Vd. So there are plenty of electrons on the back side of this considered cross section, and these electrons will be crossing this cross section within a unit time. And since electrons can travel Vd length in 1 second, total a length of Vd has to be considered to the back side, and all the electrons falling up to a Vd length will be able to cross this cross section during the unit time, during 1 second, because if the electron falling at the back edge of this length, they will also be moving Vd length in 1 second, and they can also reach this cross section, and the electrons which are closer will surely cross this cross section and move ahead. So all the electrons that are up to a Vd length from this cross section, from the considered cross section, will be able to cross this cross section, and those electrons which are on the back side of this length will not reach that length, because they will only move Vd length and they will only reach somewhat backside portion of the cross section. So effectively, what I am trying to imply is that if we are considering a cross section like this, and if we are counting the charge that is passing through this cross section per unit time, then those electrons up to a length of Vd from this cross section, all the electrons falling within this volume up to a Vd length will be able to cross this cross section in the permitted time 1 second, since Vd is the drift velocity. So how many number of electrons are within a length of Vd? We know the cross section A is 1, Then the length of this cylinder, this considered small cylinder part, is Vd. So what is the total volume? You know the total volume is cross section into length. So A into Vd is the total volume that we have, within which the electrons will be able to cross the cross section. So since there are n number of charges per unit volume, multiply this volume with the charge density in order to get the total charge that will be able to cross the considered cross section. So effectively, A into Vd, volume, the charges within this volume will be able to cross the cross section, and multiply by n, the charge density per unit volume, to get the total number of charge that will be able to cross the cross section. Now each electron has a charge of E. So multiply this with the charge of each electron to get the total charge which is able to cross the cross section in a unit time. So let me write, the current I will be A into Vd. Since we are considering a unit cross section, 1 into Vd, multiply by charge density, multiply by charge. This will be the total charge per unit time. Time is just 1 second. So divided by 1. So this is equal to Vd into Ne. So according to free electron theory, we have calculated the equation for Vd, which is E into E tau divided by M multiplied by Ne. So this is equal to N E square tau by M multiplied by electric field. So according to free electron theory, the electrical conductivity is proportional to electrical field E. The current is proportional to not the electrical conductivity. The current through the metal is proportional to electrical field E. I proportional to E is the assumption that we will get from this consideration based on free electron theory. So we know what is Ohm's law. We define Ohm's law as V equal to IR. Or this equation can also be defined as I equal to sigma E. So this is another representation of the Ohm's law based on electrical field, the electrical conductivity sigma and current. So we have actually obtained the same equation here, right? I equal to a constant into electrical field. So this is actually the Ohm's law itself. So we can say that our free electron theory validates Ohm's law and can explain the Ohm's law very beautifully. So from this equation we can also consider that since I equal to sigma is the normal form of Ohm's law, this constant will be definitely sigma. So I can definitely write from the earlier assumption sigma equal to that constant N E square tau by M. So now let me also define one more term called carrier mobility, mu, and we define mu as drift velocity per unit applied electric field, Vd by E. So what will be mu? Vd is E tau by M divided by E, which will be E tau by M. So we are defining a new term called carrier mobility, which is given by E tau by M, where tau is the relaxation time. So how is sigma and mu related? So we can see sigma and mu are related as sigma equal to N E square tau by M, which is equal to Ne into E tau by M, which is equal to Ne mu. So this is the relation between the electrical conductivity and carrier mobility. So from this equation we can also define resistivity. We know resistivity and conductivity are related, inversely related. So rho equal to 1 by sigma. So it will be equal to M divided by Ne square tau. So all these equations are in much agreement with the experimental observed values. So we have actually seen that the free electron theory is able to explain Ohm's law, is able to define and find sigma, electrical conductivity, mobility and resistivity. So let me add one more point to this discussion. The free electron theory is also able to explain the variation in sigma depending on temperature. So let me explain that too. So sigma and temperature. How is electrical conductivity related to temperature? So we have defined one equation for sigma, which is sigma equal to Ne square tau by n or Ne mu. So from this equation, we know sigma and tau or sigma and mu are directly related. So when we study the variation of sigma with respect to temperature, for metals, we see that as temperature increases, electrical conductivity sigma decreases. So temperature and sigma are inversely related. So what actually happens here? But in the case of semiconductors, it is observed that as temperature increases, electrical conductivity sigma increases. So there is a sharp difference between the behavior of metals and semiconductors in the case of their electrical conductivity and its dependence on temperature. So how does this free electron theory explain this behavior? So we know from free electron theory, sigma is related to various factors, Ne square tau by m. Here E and m are constants, m is the mass and E is the electrical charge. The varying quantities are n and tau. So in the case of metals, n is the total number of electrons per unit volume, charge density, and for metals n is somewhat constant because all the free electrons are free and it is somewhat independent of temperature. So for metals n is somewhat constant, but this tau, what is tau? Tau is the relaxation time, or tau is the time period between collision, somewhat like average time period between collisions. So if an electron is able to move freely without colliding, tau will be large. But if an electron is facing collisions at a short distance, that means tau will be small. So tau is directly dependent on, or inversely dependent on, the average distance traveled or number of collisions. So when temperature increases, we know electrons will be moving fast and will be undergoing much more collisions. That means as temperature increases, tau decreases. So for metals, we have seen that n is a constant, n is somewhat constant, and as temperature increases, the collisions increases and average time between collision will decrease. Electrons will be hitting each other very fastly. That means no time is there. Time tau will decrease. So what will happen? As temperature increase, n, E and m are somewhat constant and tau decreases. That means sigma will decrease in the case of metals. Similarly for semiconductors, what will happen? As temperature increases, surely tau will decrease because electrons are undergoing fast motion when temperature increases. So collisions will be higher and hence average time between collision will be less. But in the case of semiconductor, this charge density n is not constant because we know for the semiconductor, not all electrons are free at normal temperature. It is not like metals where valence electrons are completely free. for semiconductor, as temperature increases, bonds can be broken and more electrons can be released. So N is dependent on temperature for semiconductor. So for semiconductor, N will increase very largely when temperature increases. So there is a decrease in tau that is there, but the increase in N, capital N, the charge density is very high for semiconductor. So what will happen as temperature increases? As temperature increases, tau decreases little, but N increases very largely, and effectively sigma will increase because here N is the determining factor. But in the case of metals, N was a constant and tau was the determining factor. So we can see that the free electron theory is also able to explain the dependence of sigma on temperature. So this property can also be explained based on the relation between sigma and mu. You can discuss that. So in effect, this theory gives us an understanding about the relative contribution of capital N, mu to sigma, how tau and mu are related to sigma, and enables us to explain the different values of sigma. So as we have seen, this is one of the achievement of free electron theory. It is able to explain electrical conductivity in metals, and it is able to define and validate Ohm's law, and finally it is also able to explain different values of sigma for different types of materials and its variation with temperature. So I hope you have understood today's class. Thank you.